Thank you all for tuning in to Breathing is Highly Dangerous. We are giving our first breath, working toward and hoping for the next, all the while fearing our last. Welcome to the show.
No.
The event.
A little bit more grand.
The movement.
That's better, I like that.
The movement of the century.
Well, movement, that may be a little bit much. How about a conquest to ferment the ones ignosable that try to impinge their iniquitous veracity to our thoughts?
Here is your host. He puts the U in unusual, the P in pterodactyl. Not just why, he also asked how.
Thank you all and welcome back to Breathing is Highly Dangerous. I am joined again with my lovely sister, Krisha. You don't think to be called lovely?
How about you?
Sorry. Thank you for joining me.
Yeah. We're not talking about a light, happy subject. Why do I have to be all happy?
Today we, as the title suggests, if you read the title, we are talking about the hashtag Stop the Asian Hate. We're going to delve a little bit into... And...
There's other ones.
What are the other ones? That's the main one I saw. That's the one you posted, so that's how I became aware of it.
There's other hashtags.
I'm not on social media.
There's also, I think it's human something. It's also, a lot of people are doing Stop the Racism.
I was wanting to get your view on it. I was going to talk about it a little bit for all I know, but let's first ask you what your thoughts of it are, because you posted. That's how I became aware of it, because all these social issues are not new issues. They're things that are just being blown up to high degrees.
Here's the thing. For me, I posted it when I found out because it's the same thing with Black Lives Matter for me. When there's stuff being put in place, like what's on the bottom of that was a link where there's petitions, there's for donations to families who were really, like, unfortunately so, like, hit hard by the, what is it called? What you call it? A terrorist attack.
Okay.
It is.
No, continue.
A hate crime. And even though all 8 people weren't Asian, 6 of them were, and they had links to help out those families that lost, like, a mother, a sister, a daughter, you know? And I posted that because, for me, as long as once there's a movement put in place, there's actions I can take, I'm going to share it so other people can, get aware of this stuff and even possibly help, I need to get the real name of the AAPI, like, the movement, like, the organization they have. I don't have the name. I'm posting. I didn't just post on Instagram, and it wasn't on the day where everybody was doing it, including, like, people in K-pop, where they were able to speak about these issues. I was listening, and I was, like, looking through all of because TikTok is a good app to find out a lot of stuff and a lot of, like, different things. Even though he doesn't like it, TikTok is not just a place where people do stupid crap, but you can also get good information. So
you were saying that you were posting it because it gave links to resources that people could help these families that were victimized by the shooting.
Mm-hmm. And
it doesn't matter where it's posted, because wherever you can get help or potentially get help is a good place. Mm-hmm. Okay, I agree.
I posted it not just for a trend. It's a problem in all POC communities that there is violence, and even though what happened now sometimes can't compare to what happened in the past, but it's at the forefront, and I think a lot of people are not just a lot of people are really done with it. It's just like how Black Lives Matter was made years ago. It's like these things have been happening, but these things have been happening, but now we need to put in organizations to specifically target those things and get them and help it to decline or something. You know, put in place some things to make it not happen. What is it? Sure, yeah.
Right. No, that makes
Put in
sense.
some things to-
Don't get insecure about it. You said what you said it. You said it.
And what I think, if you're going to talk about, I think if you're not with it, I think it's because a lot of people, there's Black people now who are like, oh, Asian people didn't ride with us last summer. Why should we come there for them now? But it's just like, love thy neighbor as thyself, even if it didn't seem like they were giving the same type of support that the Black community is giving right now to the Asian community. But it's like really two-sided, because on the Asian community side, they're like divided by people who think that Black people are the perpetrators of a lot of the crime. And you can see that in news, where once the shooting happened in Atlanta, they made an article on how Black people could help. And that is just not right. I don't think that, even though I just brought up Black Lives Matter in a comparison, in like, not in the way that is negative, but in the way that like, I understand what the Asian community is doing. But when it comes to the hashtag Stop Asian Hate, Black people really should not be brought up. We didn't bring up the Asian community. It should not be brought up now. And like when things were getting heated, or like, what is it called? When things were getting noticed on how with this COVID thing, and how elderly Asians were getting targeted for they were getting targeted. A lot of people would bring up the race in which the people who did that was, and it wasn't all Black. There were some Black people, but that is not something. It's just the fact that it happened as a whole. You don't blame a whole community for that.
Right.
I just went into a lot of stuff.
You did.
Really quickly. But it's a lot more than that, and
Not really.
you can say what you want.
Those all go. Well, we're going to talk about it. All right. So the first thing that you sort of brought up. Let's go into one of these other things. So you were talking about how, like, this hashtag is meant to bring awareness, is meant to be able to provide resources, and you perfectly made the comparison for Black Lives Matter. They purposely modeled their marketing structure after Black Lives Matter, which is not as helpful as it could be, right? Depending on where the resources actually lead to and the links actually lead to. So I haven't done my research on this one in particular in depth, but I am certain that the model structure is quite similar. So they themselves are making a reference to to the positions of black people, rightfully so in some case, in terms of violence being perpetuated against them. What is the issue here is they're saying this was a hate crime because it was a white man that killed a majority Asian people, right?
No, wait. But
not saying you're saying this. This is what's being portrayed. This is what's being heavily portrayed by lots of people. I looked at the link and I saw some other people were posting it too. So I looked at the link and lots of people are saying this was a hate crime and this is racism, and this is hate crime against Asians, right? Whether or not it's true or not.
But would you think that what happened to Aubrey
as a hate crime?
Yeah.
Would I think that's a hate crime?
Yeah.
Because it's an individual standpoint and they didn't say they did this. A hate crime there is very particular standards under which a hate crime goes.
But didn't he go to multiple spas?
Wait, what are you talking? You're saying Aubrey. I have to answer this one first. Let me answer that.
I said in comparison, like, yeah, there was specific, like, if you think there was just one black man and versus two white men, right?
So are you saying that the Aubrey one wasn't racist? Wasn't a hate crime or what? 6
Asian women.
Right, but what is the comparison right now?
A white man.
What's the comparison right now?
I'm saying, would you call that a hate crime? And
the first one a hate crime? Would I call that a hate crime? I would call that two stupid people trying to raise their authority over other people. And what was their description of it? That they were trying to arrest him because they thought he was doing something wrong. Was it because he was black? Probably. Is that something they're going to admit to? Probably not. Is that something that can be proven without them saying it? Probably not, because they are not, because of their affiliation. So you cannot classify as a hate crime if it's not demonstrated, if they do not say themselves it's a hate crime, and there is not evidence.
I don't think that's how hate
crimes work.
I don't think that's how it works.
That is how it works legally. That is not how it works personally. People will label anything a hate crime. Dylan Roof was a hate crime because he said he was a white nationalist and he purposely killed black people, and he said this, and this, and his matter. He had this stuff written down, so there was proof. There was evidence that he did that as a hate crime.
What about so
let's go back to the Asian thing. We can't. Yeah, go back. I mean, sorry, not the most recent thing that is being perpetuated as Asian racism and an Asian race crime. I mean, hate crime.
Now, with their elderly people getting targeted, hate crime.
Elderly people getting targeted for what? The COVID thing?
Yeah.
Or in general?
For COVID.
That is...
That's the peak of what everything was happening.
Right. That... They weren't... Hate crime against... Yes, those were... idiots. Individual people. That's not a nationalistic thing. That's not a group of people coming together and doing something as a hate... Yes, probably. Those were probably hate crimes. But also, why were the elderly targeted? Because they were the most weak, defenseless, someone that would least likely be able to defend themselves against an attack. So weak people, right? The people that attack them are weak for attacking someone else, but a weak person will attack a weaker person. Right? So that's yes. So yes, a hate crime. I agree. So currently, whether or not it was a hate crime, there's not enough evidence to determine it. Therefore, everyone else making that determination is speaking too quickly.
Here's the thing. I had looked at, I'm not sure if
we
I
can
could
tell
find, if I could find the...
We can tell the justification. I can tell you his justification of it.
I'm not sure if it was a true article.
What was it? What did it say?
Where it said... There was an article that said that he said, kill the Asians.
That he said, kill the Asians.
Mm-hmm. If I could find that, this would be a hate crime.
Probably. Yes. So if there's something that he said he killed Asians, so it was not. A hate crime also has to be a crime with a specific target. Then that means everything's a hate crime. Anything you choose to kill would be a hate crime. Killing anything is a hate crime. But if we're talking about a hate crime is classified as targeting someone specifically because of their race, color, or creed. So if he was intentionally targeting Asian people, then it would be considered. It might be. It would have to be because they are specifically Asian. So but then that's like if a white person kills a white person and they said, "Oh, kill all the white people," is that a hate crime as well?
You know the president called it a hate crime.
What president?
Biden.
Oh, duh. He's going. What? You think I'm surprised that he calls it a hate crime? He's not a
Therefore,
lawyer.
if we live in here, it's a hate crime, y'all.
Right. I'm not saying it's not. But I'm not saying it's not. I'm saying that legally that has to be determined first.
Okay, but
is he charged with a hate crime?
What matters is not what you call it, but what happened in the first place.
Right, it matters what happens. So what you're calling it, you're representing it as something that has not been determined yet.
Either way.
Popularly.
No,
so that means you are misleading people.
It doesn't.
If it gets classified,
how is it misleading?
No, if it gets classified as something else, will people recant that it's a hate crime? No, they will continue to think it's a hate crime. So it doesn't. It matters what happened. So what happened?
What's the
wasn't
difference
a hate
of
crime.
it being a hate crime and not being a hate crime?
It's
still violence against Asian people.
But you're labeling it something. So that right. It's violence against people, general. Period.
It was.
But yes.
It was mostly Asian. That.
Right,
what?
but then that also limits.
And I'm pretty. Let me.
Do they say?
I'm trying to find.
Okay, the other two. You said there's two other people that weren't Asian. So what happens to them? They just don't. What? They don't get respected. So it's a hate crime for them too.
I do want to know the names of the other two people. I think.
Do you know the names of the other 6? Have you seen the name? Okay, why is that? They are being intentionally put in the media for a purpose.
Identified.
Right. They were already identified. They just purposely took the names of the Asian people so they could call it a hate crime in the media. So whether or not it is a hate crime, they are using this instance to gain, which is unfortunate. Not that the issue doesn't need to be fixed. It needs to be fixed. But the way that they are going about trying to fix it is not going to be successful because as with Black Lives Matter, you're seeing small successes. You're seeing success on a small scale. This is not something that's meant to last because of the policies they're suggesting and what Biden is trying to do is not going to do any because racism is personal. Racism is, and then the real racism is personal. All other racism is invisible, right? And it's perpetuated through structures that are in place. And as long as people continue to use the structure that is already in place, racism is going to be continually perpetuated. So you're not going to change it unless you change the people that you continue to put in office. And all the people going to decide to change the people that they put in office.
Where are the names of the other two people? If I find the article, but it could have been true, it could have not been true, but it could have been
just
possible.
search up names, search up victims of the Atlanta shooting. That's all you have to do.
This isn't the only shooting that has ever happened in Atlanta.
It's the most frequent and it's the most popular, so they're gonna have it. That's what I did. I just searched up Atlanta shooting. It's the first thing that popped up. So what I'm saying is to give motive and try to determine someone's motive for committing the crime before that is known, you are doing a disservice to everyone, to the victims of the crime. To all of them.
But Listen, the name of the spa is called Young's Asian Massage.
Okay, if it was called what, the massage parlor, would it make a difference? And they were.
It's just like.
You can't, for the fact that people are the knowledge that someone shot up an Asian establishment, a predominantly Asian establishment, they automatically think it's a hate crime without
it's
the
because
knowledge.
It's a mess, all the stuff that has been happening, including that kid that got killed.
I'm not saying it's not understandable, but it's also wrongly perpetuated, and you're promoting an idea that has not been proven yet, which is a problem in itself, because you're not going to get the real change you need if you can't identify the real problem. So if the real problem is not racism, then you are trying to solve something that is not a problem in this case, even though it might be. But if you're putting that in before knowing, you don't have all the information. So you're not going to be able to solve a problem without all the information anyway. So if you got that right, you could be getting a bunch of other things wrong. So this is where I also like to compare this to like white nationalism, right? So they're trying to put this on white people or white nationalists.
They put it on white supremacy.
White supremacists, which is white nationalists.
Supremacy.
White supremacy. What does that mean? Just because a white person, that's exactly what media does to black people. It's like, oh, all black people are like this. Why are you doing that?
What?
That is exactly the same thing.
They did not say that all white people white supremacy.
White supremacy.
But
that would be grouping him in with a white. If he doesn't claim that, and you say that is what that is, and he says, no, this is not what it is, it's this, and you say, no, it's this, and he's telling you different, you're going to listen to yourself rather than the person that's telling you that's not it. Because what he said was, this is what he said. This is what he said. So this is the most truth we're going to get out of anything, because you will never know the truth out of someone else's head. So you can't give someone else a reason for a problem that they claim is unless you are personally in their lives. So as much information as people want to assume, they're never going to have as much information as the source itself. So if they don't know him personally, they cannot.
Can you say what he said already?
Right. So he said that he targeted these places because Asian women specifically, right, were a part of his sexual desire, and they were a temptation for him. So he wanted to destroy people that tempted him, which happened to be Asian women. So he was not destroying people specifically because they were Asian. He was destroying a temptation, which happened to be Asian. So that's not good. It's evil. You should not be killing people. But the reason is if you rationalize the wrong thing, if you target the wrong thing. So the women happen to be Asian that he was tempted to and sexually attracted to, which he did not want that temptation. So that's how he rationalized killing these Asian women. It was because he was sexually tempted by Asian women. It's not because they were Asian women. It's because they sexually tempted him. So that's the reason he states he killed them. And that's the only reason we have to go off of until he says something else that we can switch it up. So everyone else saying it's because they're Asian they got killed. No, it's because it's part of it. That's not the only reason. That's not the main reason. The main reason is because they were his sexual temptation that he wanted to destroy.
And I'm supposed to believe a killer.
You're supposed to believe someone that has never killed someone. You're supposed to believe someone that's never met this killer. If you're going to believe something, believe this thing closer to the truth as you can get, which is the killer itself, because the victims are dead. The victims couldn't ask these questions. The victims are a result of this murderer. So if you want an answer, where do you get the answer from? The source. Right? That's what I consider. And you don't have to. Most people don't, because they're feelings. And because they're emotionally involved, which is fine. Which is fine. It's not a justification. It's a reasoning. There's a reason why they died.
It's the trying to trust a murderer to me. For me.
In order to trust, then why? It's the same thing as trusting anyone. Why you
No.
trust anything?
Not everybody's a murderer.
Right. Most people, but there's more non-murderers. There's more people that think about murdering than people that actually murder. And that's a fact. Right? So,
To me, I think nah, it's
no,
still.
just state it. State it.
For me.
And this is applied to all types of racism, all types of crime. And it's a disservice to every single person that consumes this media to have the wrong reason for why a crime was committed. It's not in defense of a white person, it's in defense of a person in general. And not even to defend I'm never defending action. I'm defending, I'm giving insight to a reason. So it's not defending an action. I would never defend evil. That was an evil act. That should not have ever occurred. Just like the people that attack these old people are evil acts that should have never occurred. Just like the police officers that purposely or accidentally killed black people should never have been done. That is evil. Amber Geiger, why did she get 10 years? Was that racism? I don't think explicitly racism.
Who?
Amber Geiger. She killed the dude in his home. She thought it was her apartment. She got 10 years. The judge hugged her. The brother hugged her in the courtroom. You don't remember that?
Mm-mm.
Okay, then, well, I keep up with stuff that gets insanely popular and is misleading in the media. Because I don't like people being misled. Even because people have the right intention. Sharing this stuff and trying to create change is the right and the perfect thing to do. It's what we should be doing at all times. However, if you don't have all the information, the way you're going to try to solve the problem is going to be the wrong way, and the problem's not going to be solved in the best way possible. So this leads me into...
I get that.
So this leads me into the next item here. So, because this is fresh, right? Because they're using the tactics of BLM, of the Black Lives Matter movement.
Which took a long time to actually get noticed.
Yeah, that took a long time to get its own footing, right?
Yeah, now
they just get to piggyback.
Yeah.
Right? So
but, here's the thing. I think as a black person, I'm just like, wow. But also, it's good that you're getting that. Right,
we open the door and you can walk through. Got it. Okay, so this is good, right? If everything were going, if the method was good in itself. So the method that they're walking through is not even the best path to be walking through. And this is something I have considered, this is something you gotta be a little bit more informed about. But not only that, but because there's an expectation of everyone now, this is an expectation that they have. It's like, we are discriminated against too. And this is what's been happening since the COVID things. We are discriminated too. Blacks aren't the only ones that are discriminated against. So they were sort of doing,
always been like that.
Right. Mm-hmm. But more now they're trying to blanket it. They're trying to say, oh, we were always with you. This is what's about to happen.
We were always with you?
That's what the Asian people are trying to say right now. It's like, Black Lives Matter, we're together. People of color, we're both discriminated against. We both have violent acts against us.
That's another thing you're generalizing.
I'm generalizing something about a topic. That's why, just like how people generalize white supremacy.
As I said, that there's a split in the. There's a split in the Asian community. There's multiple splits in the Asian community.
Right. So let me identify them because you referred to them earlier. I'm going to identify them now. So okay. Go ahead. If you had something really.
You were talking already.
Right. So and this is talking about one finger on the hand, right? So we've got the group Asian Americans. We're going to say Asian Americans because getting into and Asian Americans, as broad as that is,
very broad.
As broad as that is, right? We understand, and the people, black people understand what, or not, even Asian people understand what this hashtag means, right? They're talking about the people with categorically Asian features, not passing, right? So they're talking about Asians that look Asian, and they're talking about probably Eastern Asian? Mm-hmm. Eastern Asian with...
Which is why a lot of people are starting to... That's why when it first took off, right now, people are having to remind everybody that how big of a continent...
Asian.
A continent, not a country. That...
Because of parts of Russia, there's Eurasian, there's...
India... There's
parts of the Middle East.
Parts of the Middle East.
In Asia and all, which yes, stop hate towards everyone in Asia. Of course, right? Of course. But the intention is not that statement. So the intention of this statement, stop Asian hate, is not to include, is not purposely, it just happens to be that Asia is that large. That is not the intention of Stop Asian Hate. And they know that. So they know making a more general statement instead of all lives matter, because they want to be more inclusive than say Black Lives Matter, right? So they're doing something a little bit different. This is all, they're doing something a little bit different to be very general. So whoever thought about it.
It's because what they did was at first, a lot of people were taking out the Black and Black Lives Matter, even though Black Lives Matter is a movement. They were taking that out and then putting in Asian lives or Muslim lives, even though there's many people who could be Muslim. That's very general to me. I'm sorry. But, and then they were putting in, what's another? Latin lives matter. And I'm just like, that's essentially all lives matter. You're just trying to...
Right.
That's why they had to make another different thing. You can't piggyback off of an actual movement right there.
Yes, you can, and they did.
You
and
can.
They have. And that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to make it more general. It's
I
purposeful.
meant like in the name. Like that was... You don't go on TikTok. But that's the thing, that there's issues on there. Social issues that get addressed right away in there.
Right, and what I like to think is most of these people posting stuff uninformed are children. But the fact of the matter is, I've seen many adults and people much older than myself posting this stuff and just remaining to themselves uninformed, which is quite...
What are you talking about? Uninformed about what?
Uninformed about reality. They scratch the surface. They look at the surface. They don't even scratch it. They look at the surface and take what's there. They don't see what's underneath to see the problem with what they're taking. Right? I choose to not touch something before I know what's underneath it and what has influenced the thing that I'm touching.
Really?
If you don't scratch deeper, you won't realize what the reality of the matter is.
What does blacks as a dawn mean?
As a pawn. All right, so when I'm saying they, I'm talking about specific individuals within these communities, right? Specific people, because I don't generalize people's actions. I generalize people's thoughts. So if you think similar, you will start to act the same, right? That's just how that works, naturally. So if you think similarly, you will tend to act similarly. Go ahead.
I have something to say. Earlier you were talking about like blaming the white people.
Right.
And I just want to say that it's more of the fact that whenever it's POCs and we have people of color.
I know what that means, but...
Yeah, but you seem to have a problem whenever I say that.
Because it
When it
means
comes
nothing to me.
People who aren't white. What do you mean?
What does
I'm
that?
talking about all of us.
Why do,
People of color.
It's everyone. Go ahead though.
Jeez.
You're talking about people that are targets of white nationalism,
communities
that are targets of white supremacists, and other people that potentially hate those specifically targeted groups too.
No, I mean like in an Asian community or a black community or let's say the Mexican community, or we could say even though there could be a black/Mexican, you know what I mean, like in the Latin community, we always have to address the problems in our communities, right? That's always expected of us, right?
That's just expectation that you have for yourself. Or that's something that it should be implied, because if you're talking about an issue that's happening within your own community, yes, solve that issue. If
now where do white people come in where they address the issues in which white people do? Like, why aren't y'all talking to each other about?
Because why are you expecting someone else to do something you're not doing yourself?
What are you talking about?
Talking about something is not changing something. It gives the potential for change since you are now aware of it, but being aware of it and not doing anything about it is even worse than not being aware and not doing anything. So the communities that you're talking about that actually implement change should, yes, they can then put that expectation upon the other people, which could be white, could be right. Oh, yeah, for example, for white people to then look at themselves like, hey, we're doing this, we made all this change, but we are still being hindered by these things that are in your community, right? And what? If you are having that
in our community,
in the community, you do realize that white and black people live together. White people live in areas where there is a culmination of people. But if you're considering white supremacy and white superiority and what do you call it? And not enablism, but
I bring that up because I also saw this
what is it called when you get a favoritism, a favoring of because you're privilege, right? If you're considering all that,
yes, right.
Privilege goes multiple ways, but what? You got me off track. What were you saying?
That's not needed in everything. And
that's what I do. It's needed for this. It's more than surface level issue. You can introduce topics on a surface level, and then you understand topics by digging deep. I like to understand things that I talk about at length.
What I was saying was, I bring up that because what I'm seeing right now from not all white people, obviously. I love white people. Don't get me wrong.
Do you?
Miss Susan, I love her.
Stop it. Stop naming
I love her.
Stop naming particular white people.
It's like I got a black friend.
Yeah, exactly. Stop doing that.
No, but like I do that as a joke. But I do love them. And
I love everyone.
Literally. Yeah, obviously. But I'm talking about what I'm talking about specifically.
Go ahead.
What I'm seeing right now from part of the white community.
Part of it, you right?
Part of it is it's them.
Dismissal.
No. They're being divisive. They're bringing up black people while they're talking about Asian people.
They're bringing up black people doing what?
They're
saying, oh, black people suffer more?
No.
What?
They're saying they're trying to literally divide us, like, oh, the black people are the ones, as I said, perpetrating this stuff against Asian people.
Right.
And yeah, there was literally this white man on TikTok saying that stuff.
Okay.
And there's a bunch of people who are agreeing with him. Other white people making the same inferences. I'd say, is it inference? Conclusions, yes. And it's just.
Whether
that's what I wanted to bring up, man.
People
Why
do
that.
People do that intentionally or non-intentionally. So in order they want to give responsibility for an action to a specific group of people, which they are then defining and generalizing as that specific trait while ignoring everything that they do to also affect that issue, right? Or exacerbate it even more than the person you're pointing your finger at, right? So that is what people do knowingly or unknowingly. I would like to say that most people do it unknowingly, and that is a part of ignorance and what I call, which is insensitive stupidity, and you're a common fool for not wanting to know more about an issue that you are speaking upon and giving and making public, right? So if you're stating something publicly and that information is wrong, right? And people have the potential to see that, and then people take that information, right? Especially celebrities that do this, people that are popular that give out false information about any topics, and then that makes the common man that doesn't look further take that statement and run with it and say, oh, they said this, so this must be true. So you all are this, and this, and you all do this, and this. And then you look up all the bad things that happens that these people do. It's like, oh my, they do this, and this, and this, and this, and this, and this. Oh my gosh. Without realizing that you could be looking at you take off the sheet of paper, it's like, oh, that's my cousin. Yeah, and you're looking at your own race on the same sheet of paper. So someone is literally people writing in races for everything, because everyone does everything. It's just what is portrayed most, especially in American media or Western media, which is where the melting pot of everyone's coming here on purpose. What is the reason that everyone's coming here?
We don't need to speak about that. Because it's not like...
who's going back?
A lot of people.
Okay.
A lot of people.
Not as many people are coming in.
I want to go.
And not as many people are coming in. So that is, even though that is true, what is the ratio? Do you not
know how many people come here and they get disappointed?
Do you know how many people
leave again?
Do you know how many people come here and stay here? Do you know how many people come here and leave?
There are. And there are a lot of people who leave.
More people come here and stay and create families that then create more families than that come here and leave. That is a factual statement.
But the thing is, it's not like.
But that's not. That's. I'm not saying America's not great. I don't like the condition of America whatsoever.
In regards to the Asian community, a lot of things have happened to them in the past in the U.S.
Right.
Like a lot of people.
Right.
Like.
Yeah. So so what should have happened a long time ago is that before, in an age of civil rights, all the people of color, that it was justifiable where there was rights alienated, like now they're inalienable rights, but rights that were meant specifically for white Americans that weren't given to mainly blacks, but potentially other people of color, which...
I read a whole thing. There was, actually the Asian Americans had... there was the biggest massacre in the U.S. in U.S. history. In the U.S., the biggest massacre against them. There was a time where Chinese women.
That is also documented.
Allowed.
That's also documented.
What does that mean? Oh,
You're talking about we're talking about documented things on
Yes.
U.S. soil that there was newspapers for and people cared about because the story was told, and they were able to tell the story because of rights that they were given.
it's true we weren't there, but yeah, that.
Right, that's not taking away from evil. Evil is evil. But at that point in time, in the 40s, 50s, 60s, when the civil rights movements were kicking off, you know why there wasn't all the people of color weren't banded together? Do you know why this is? Do you know why this is? Do you have
We were
an idea?
pitted against each other.
It's not just pitted against each other, it's that rights were afforded to the other people of color that weren't because they weren't considered. Because even though they were considered people of color, they weren't considered black. They would say, whatever, they had slurs. So they would classify these people as certain things.
Yeah, they don't like them. Why are you saying
Right,
them?
they would, right.
Are you saying it as an example? Are you okay
Yes.
with when other people say nigger, for example? I don't like that.
I don't care what you don't like, it's a word. Words don't hurt people. Actions
You're
do.
fine when some people who aren't black use nigger an example.
What are they saying? Is it necessary to say nigger?
Is it necessary to say slurs against other people?
Yes. What's a slur against white people? Name it.
Male monkey.
What? What? What did you just say?
I'm sorry.
Do you want me to cut that out?
No.
I don't know what the heck you just said. But all these things, it's because they were pitted against each other by giving.
But wait.
There was agents on
We're
television.
talking about stop Asian hate.
Right.
This is where you get into where, like,
Right,
where
but
we're
that's
comparing what we've been through in history.
Right, so that's all results. That's all.
Like, cause I
Determine the
get
result
why
today.
there's a movement. I get it.
Right. Should there be that?
Some may think that black people have been through more. Yeah, slavery.
I'm not even saying that. I'm saying that what's happened is if you want to join forces, stop your own racism.
The anti-blackness.
Stop getting pitted against each other. How are you pitting yourself against each other?
The anti-Asianness. Yeah, there's a lot of anti-Asian in the black community.
Right, and absolutely. What are you looking at me for when I celebrate them before you?
Oh, it's because you thought
I celebrate them before you. This is factual.
No.
Okay, but do you also see Asian people that do Asian people tell each other that, oh, you have African features?
Yes.
Exactly.
Black skin.
Right. So guess what?
Black skin.
So guess
Which
what?
is actually slightly tan skin, y'all.
So what it...
And I've watched shows where this boy's like, oh yeah, my nickname is black skin, or like, I'm just like, excuse me.
Right, so what's the issue with...
It looks like you were in the sun for 10 minutes. That's all.
Right. So, getting back to it.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
I no, there's nothing there. I'm not blaming the whole Chinese community for what that one boy said, but I don't like that nobody said anything about it.
Those are individuals within a race of people.
Yeah.
That do those things and perpetuate racial stereotypes and pass them down through their lineage, which we see the effects of it through their children that we interact with today. As well, within the white community, it's the same. Within the Latin community, it's the same. Within the Asian community, it's the same. Within the black community, it's the same. That all these racial stereotypes are passed down and people are treated accordingly to what people believe about these certain races. And the only way that will change is through the willingness to expose yourself to their culture, not appropriate it, but expose yourself to their culture and understand it and understand the problems. Because if you want to fix a problem, understand the issue. And a lot of the issues stem from things that are easily solvable in an instant. But and that's just true. But going back to what is being done.
Petitions.
What
It got back to the president.
about the president?
What's being done? Like,
Petitions to what? What does the petition do? Petitions to pass
what
policies.
you see in the media isn't the only stuff that has been happening to Asian Americans.
Yes, yes it is. It's the same of a lot of stuff. It's the same thing, just not reported. So what's the difference? Just like black people.
I'm saying that's not the only stuff.
Yeah, it's not the only instances, but it's the same. It's an instance of a different people involved.
Okay. Whatever.
Okay, so that's understood.
But there are petitions to governors and
To
stuff
do what?
to get things passed, get things
What
looked
passed?
at
Get what looked at?
for other things that are happening.
To get and do what? Look at what? If people are committing crimes and they're getting caught, what are they looking at?
Huh?
What are they looking at? What you have to look at is what the individual learns and what an individual is taught and what an individual will be influenced to do. How do you do that? Through knowing through education, meaning knowing what's in your household. So that stuff I'll describe later. But in terms
Later, this video is getting too long.
right, I'm not talking about this video.
What I'm gonna say now is that I'm gonna continue to support Stop Asian Hate. I
Support
will.
them how?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna find out what, cause I know there's a lot of through all these GoFundMe's and petitions to be signed. I'm gonna look for the one, cause the boy who's now lost his single mother. Yeah, he has to raise his brother. I saw that GoFundMe.
He doesn't have to.
His family's in Korea.
Okay.
They're here.
Okay.
But in the GoFundMe, he only asked for $20,000. He got $1 million now, and that is amazing help.
Right.
But I want to look.
And how old is he?
Through the
How
list.
old is he?
23.
You said he's a boy. That's a man. How old is his brother?
Younger.
Then how old? That's the difference between you're saying she was a single mother.
Yeah.
She was a single mother to the 23-year-old is not being raised anymore.
What I'm saying is I was referring to this one person.
Anything that is talked about, I like to know the details.
He got noticed.
Tell me the details.
It got noticed and he got the help that was asked even more. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go through all of them, because I know it's bound to be people who are getting overlooked, by what's popular instead of looking at everything that happened.
What did I say? You said what I said.
What are you talking about?
I said exactly.
I said there's more things that are happening that's not shown on TV.
Right, but
I want to support those, because the ones that are on TV, they're getting massive support, and that's amazing. But it's also there's other stuff happening. So.
Right. So essentially that was I didn't make all my points. But is there anything else you wanted to mention?
We mentioned most of that, except for COVID targeted.
We sort of did.
Yeah.
I went into it.
They were targeted for that. It's not good, because, first of all, I'm pretty sure there was evidence of someone in France first. And then...
No.
No, seriously.
No.
Seriously.
No.
Let me see if it's real then.
It's not.
You don't know that. Did you see what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, really?
That was 2 months ago.
No.
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yes.
How did you debunk it?
Because of what the origination is and who was practicing, or who was utilizing those things. Those things are on record. And also the admittance And the people that died.
The
Oh my
first
God.
COVID.
It's not a conspiracy.
December.
Mm.
Okay,
Thank you.
but here's the thing.
Okay.
Not every person is Chinese. I want to talk to the races out there. Not every Asian person that you see is Chinese. That still doesn't give the right for you to actually ask the person, what are you? If they say Chinese, that doesn't give you the right to do anything to them. Because that has nothing to do with them if they're here. And if you were to go to China.
Seeing an Asian person
You
here
should not
also
do
doesn't mean they're
anything.
Asian American.
Right.
And seeing a black person in another country doesn't mean they're African.
Seeing a black person in another country doesn't mean they're American either.
Right.
I see a lot of that in Asian countries. Where they're like, are you American or are you African?
What if I'm neither, brother?
Wait, I'm not done. Stop being racist. Stop the racism, first of all. All of it. Stop it. Stop it.
I concur.
And support Asian people.
Support all people, and Asians will be supported as well.
Support your black peoples. Don't
in the best way
divisions.
possible. Create division from evil and be good.
And not one race is all evil. Though it may seem like it sometimes.
The evil race is all evil.
It's not true. Okay? And I know I may have like not worded things as best as I did. If anything came out as hateful, please, I apologize now. I don't think I did. If it did,
You said something about a monkey. I don't know what it was. Alright, thank you all. Be blessed, stay blessed, and I'll see you all. Or you all hear
Stay
me?
safe out there.
Yeah, stay safe, stay healthy, stay blessed, be blessed. Or cheers.
If you need to talk, I'm here.
And I will be the third party for the therapy after you talk to her.
Sir, I am the therapy. What is wrong with you?
Yeah, the Hot Rocks therapy.